Halfway through the SportsMax zone on this Friday, and we're turning our focus now to football. CONCACAF World Cup Qualifiers are in full swing, and let's check out the results from Thursday's matches. Haiti 2-0 over Belize, Curacao 5-0 over St Vincent and the Grenadines, Guyana beaten 3-0 by Trinidad and Tobago, Canada 5-1 over Bermuda, Panama 1-0 over Barbados, and El Salvador 2-0 over the Spice Boys, Grenada. Now, following the 3-0 win over the Guyanese, Trinidad and Tobago head coach Terry Fenwick said the challenge now is to build on this momentum.
We have to keep our composure. You know, we're working with a very high press, which we've done in Trinidad over the last 12 months. From that high press, it's 100 mile an hour, and then we've got to slow it down and be composed when we're on the ball. I thought our passing and movement was excellent. When we were direct, we were very direct and got our goals. Set play worked very well with the in-swing and free kick. Obviously pleased, but this is just the first of hopefully many. One step at a time, get behind us.
Yeah, so Fenwick gets his competitive juices flowing with this 3-0 victory over the Guyanese, and a very good result for TNT, more like what we're accustomed to seeing from TNT against Caribbean opposition, George and Mariah.
Definitely, and now this takes Trinidad and Tobago to the top of Group F on goal difference, so it's definitely the win that they would have needed just to start the campaign and of course to dust off all the extra things that were going on around them. Happy to see Levi Garcia getting that goal in 7 minutes, of course Sheldon Batu, and the third goal came from Ryan Telfer. A lot of people, you know, were very confident that Ryan would have delivered, so I'm happy that he was able to live up to it. Next, Lance and George, we have to face Puerto Rico, and I'm excited to see how that one goes for the TNT team.
Yeah. You can't ask for nothing more than a start. A clean sheet, good performances from individuals, good performances from the unit, and they made what would seem on paper, given the difficulties that TNT have had in the build-up against that Guyana team that said they were ready, that appeared to be ready, and that was poised to give them a very, very good contest. They made the game look easy, I must tell you. That's credit to the quality of the performance under Fenwick's leadership, and you have to give a man his due. It's very good that we're talking about the football and the quality of the football, and given what has happened with TNT over the recent months, a win in the opening World Cup qualifier, fantastic tonic.
Yeah, and a story outside of the CONCACAF qualifiers, George and Mariah. Do you realize that Tom St Feet, the coach from Trinidad and Tobago, who had a very, very forgettable stint as TNT's coach, is now the coach of Gambia, and actually got them a victory over Angola on Thursday that qualified Gambia to the final stages of the African Nations Cup for the first time in its history.
Wow.
So Tom St Feet was laughed at TNT, but he has gone to Africa and is doing some things with Gambia.
The well-traveled Tom St Feet. May I also say, just before you move on, Lance, speaking about Trinidad and Tobago, just saying something about the number of Trinidad and Tobago Trinidadian coaches in this World Cup qualifier. And it's ironic that there aren't any, well, there isn't a Trinidadian at the helm of the local team. But Stern John, he's with Anguilla, and they get into action very soon. And Russell Latapi's Barbados, they fell to an 83rd minute goal, which denied them a share of the points. And they played well enough to have gotten a point from that game, but they got tired late, it seemed, and they succumbed 1-0. So congratulations to the Trinis doing the business in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying outside of TNT.
Okay, and Jamal Shabazz is actually the coach of the St Lucia national team,
wow.
but we all know what has happened to them in recent weeks. Now, CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers will continue over the weekend, and these are the games down for decision. Turks and Caicos Islands to Nicaragua, Anguilla at home to the Dominican Republic, Guatemala versus the British Virgin Islands, Bahamas against St Kitts and Nevis, Aruba facing Suriname, the USVI, they'll be up against Antigua and Barbuda, the Cayman Islands up against Canada, Dominica, Panama, Cuba, they'll be facing the high-riding Curacao, who are being coached by the Dutchman Guus Hiddink, Puerto Rico against TNT, and Montserrat, they'll be up against El Salvador, of course, El Salvador coming off their victory over Grenada on Thursday. Still with regional football now, the government of St Lucia has broken its silence on the situation which caused its football team to withdraw from the ongoing CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers without kicking a ball. In a release issued on Thursday, the Ministry of Youth, Development and Sport had this to say. The government of St Lucia is disappointed by reports that St Lucia has withdrawn from the 2022 FIFA World Cup Qualifiers, a decision taken without any consultation with the Ministry of Youth and Development and Sport by the St Lucia Football Association. The government of St Lucia, through its sports infrastructure program, made it a priority to upgrade the Soufriere Mini Stadium to host World Cup qualifiers, and the government of St Lucia is clear and unambiguous in its commitment to upgrade facilities for this particular objective. Now, the government of St Lucia is further concerned about reports that authorities turned down requests for special training permissions for the national team. The government can confirm that we have no record of a request being made by the SLFA to have a team trained for World Cup qualifiers. Neither the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport nor the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, the CMO, received such a request. The government, the release continues, will continue to do all it can to facilitate the advancement of our athletes and St. Lucia as a leader in sports. The government sees the participation in activities such as World Cup qualifiers as critical to the development of sports and has done all in its power to facilitate the involvement of our athletes. Now, the St. Lucia Football Association held a press conference earlier on today, monitored by Murat Ramharak. My first question, Murat, since you monitored the press conference very closely, I gather there was an apology from the St Lucia FA about non-communication, but they appeared to remain steadfast in their actions in recent weeks. And did they have any response to the government's position and that press release we just went through?
Well, Lance, they said sorry a lot of times. And, the journalists that were there present, they said that sorry was not enough and they needed some more reasons. They did respond, though. Lyndon Cooper was the person actually speaking, president of the St Lucia FA. And he was saying that in his years at the helm, he never had to give any sort of he didn't have to justify anything to the government, basically. So whatever the St Lucia FA does in St Lucia, they're not accountable to the government. He never knew that, he had to go and ask the government permission and all these different things. So basically he's saying that they run their affairs how they wanted to.
So why did he have to say that? What triggered that comment from him?
Well, I'm guessing that it was the press conference. He also said something about SportsMax Zone, calling them out. He had a lot of things. He went on and on and on. He was talking about us calling him out and, getting the government involved, because in his years at the top, they never had to be accountable to the government, and that the Minister of Sport...
No, but to be quite honest, and George could bear us out on this, George mentioned on the show earlier on this week that given all of what had happened and the debacle that we have seen here, why did the government not say something about what was happening? It wasn't a case of, St. Lucia and Football Association and the government discussing anything. The government is in charge of the country, and they need to have their tentacles on things that are happening in the country. And we only said on the show here that it was a little surprising to us that the government didn't have anything to say. So I'm not sure what Lyndon Cooper would be saying about not having to report to the government. I
wasn't sure about a lot of things that he was saying, because apart from, referring to us and apart from saying that he had no reason to talk about the government. He even said that he was waiting on word from CONCACAF. That is why he wasn't saying as much. So a lot of things that he was saying were not adding up, and the journalists were constantly pressing and pushing. And up till now, a lot of people told him that, not in these exact words, but that he runs an organization like a dictator, and they were concerned as if, if the players would be sidelined moving forward. And, for me to say that we got a justified answer, I can't even say that.
Very strange. Firstly, I want to start responding by just mentioning a tweet that was posted by the former St. Lucia international and friend of the SportsMax Zone, well, friend of sport to be more accurate, Tennis in Glasgow. He commented on our social media pages to say St. Lucia really has to do a better job in getting qualified individuals with the right attitude, values and understanding of developing people in sports administration. Popularity and petty politics is hurting us as a small developing nation. So says Tennis in Glasgow, the former St. Lucia international defender. Now, here's the thing though. Lyndon Cooper, the St. Lucia FA boss, was obliged to respond in the way he did insofar as the government is concerned, because the government spoke a lot of what we can now accept as truths in its press release, because they went unchallenged by Mr. Cooper based on what we are hearing from Mariah. And if the producer could just bear with me and just run through a couple of the slides again, because there are some things that the government mentioned, the statement from the Office of the Prime Minister mentioned, that are crucial to understanding where we are and why they are here. So again, here's the government. Hold it right here. It says the government is disappointed by the reports that the withdrawal was a decision taken without any consultation with the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport. Now, maybe Lyndon Cooper is saying, Mariah, that the St Lucia FA is an independent organization and does not have to consult with the government about such a decision, which in one way he is right, and in another way he is very wrong. He is right from the perspective that the St Lucia FA is independent, as acknowledged by the government in this press release. But in another way, he is very wrong, and we're going to come to that. Next slide, please. It says, you don't even have to go further than here. The government, through its sports infrastructure program, made it a priority to upgrade the Sir Freer Mini Stadium to host World Cup qualifiers. Of course they're spending money, and this is the government saying it. We have invested, you can lose the slide, we have invested in the infrastructure. We are facilitating sport, we are facilitating the development of our people, which is not Lyndon Cooper's mandate. He's just the president of the St Lucia FA, but beyond him, we have to develop our people as government, and we are spending in that. So, if you're going to qualify for football tournaments, if you're going to play international football matches, it will be because of the infrastructure that we put in, because with all the good intentions in the world, FIFA won't give you the kind of money needed to put in the infrastructure that's needed, and a government has to help, it has to facilitate, which is why you have a Ministry of Development and Sport. And so the government is within its right to have said what it said. In other words, to demand that, well, if you are going to make a decision where the country, and the country is being run by the government, not Lyndon Cooper, who's FA president, one single nugget in the broad aspect of things. If you're not going to allow the country to be represented, then it's proper that you speak to us about that decision, tell us what informed that decision, and go ahead and make your decision. Correct. But you didn't even have the decency to tell us, money. And now you're taking umbrage at us sending a press release to make it seem as if, oh, you're so independent that we shouldn't ask you anything. So that's out of order from Mr. Cooper, and frankly, his attitude, it's almost like he's a demigod holding on to power. His attitude is perhaps explanatory of why we are here, Lance, Mariah, reading out a list of football scores that you just read, Lance, talking about fixtures that you just mentioned, Lance, without mentioning the name St. Lucia. This man is making it seem as if the government has no business asking him anything.
But George, beyond that, and you talk about the government in a way felt compelled to say what they said, because one of the reasons why the St. Lucia FA used as not being able to get a team ready for the World Cup was that they were not given permission to train and prepare a team. And the government is saying that did not happen.
Yeah, because we didn't even get a request to turn down.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah. And the Platinum FC team, which is going to be playing in the CONCACAF Club Shield in a couple of weeks from now, I think in April, they had been given permission by the government on their request
they
to get some
for
some training to go on.
So it's like they're painting the government in a bad light, basically.
So the government had to say something, to be quite honest.
Yeah, but again, I'm saying I find it amazing. Look, FIFA is clear. Governments must not interfere in football matters, and governments in a democracy know that. I'm sure the administration, the Chastity administration in St. Lucia is under no illusions that it's not running the football.
Yes.
But as the government putting in infrastructure, and in these times where activities are curtailed because of COVID-19 regulations that must be followed, it has the power to say, do this or do that. And it's saying, you did not even ask us to train, much less for us to say no. Lyndon Cooper, you need to look at yourself long and hard, my friend.
Yeah, and just to wrap the segment, he mentioned something about being cash-strapped and so on today. 31 CFU teams are involved. Well, 30 because St. Lucia aren't in there, but I know that all of the teams in the CFU are having problems financially, most of them, and they have had problems because of COVID-19 as well, but they have found a way to compete in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. We go to break. We'll be back with, I think, the second zone updates after this.